This is Colin McGuigan for IFL TV. Delighted to be joined by Jamie Moore in Belfast. Jamie, we'll touch on Chantelle soon, but I think it's important that we talk about Cameron Vong first. In Belfast for Cameron. Really quick turnaround. He just fought in Newcastle 3 weeks ago. This kid just wants to fight.
Yeah, you know, they've been really good with him 3 times. They've got him out in about seven or 8 weeks. So they're keeping him busy, which is always a good thing for a young kid coming through. And he's just a bundle of energy. He just loves fighting. So it suits him down to the ground. And 3 times before Christmas from October.
How highly do you rate Cameron Vong? Like, we've seen him, a lot of people are talking that this kid's the real deal. How highly do you rate him? You've worked alongside him and closely with him now.
Yeah, he's super talented. But I think he's dead important. And I understand people get carried away and they sort of really push promoters and managers and stuff. It's my job to keep his feet on the ground and keep it sort of real. Because I've seen this happen before, where you see kids coming through and they look amazing, and then they don't quite live up to the expectation. I've also seen it the other way, where they come under the radar and sort of no one's pushing people or giving them sort of any chance of doing anything, and then all of a sudden they come into their own by the time they're sort of 23, 24. So it can work both ways. but he's got all the ingredients, and it's just about managing it, making sure he's staying in the right direction, getting the right type of fights at the right time.
Jack Catterall, what's the situation there? Have you spoke about potential opponents next? Is he going to go to Haney Prograis to be ringside for that? Because in my opinion, I feel like Jack deserves an opportunity like that next.
Yeah, he's going to be out there for ringside, and that's certainly something what he wants to be looking at. Eddie, when he signed, they promised him a world title shot, and I'm sure they'll deliver that for him. And I understand the circumstances haven't sort of fell into line where he could get a shot at maybe Prograis, Haney come along, and it's a huge fight in its own right. So I understand why it's been made, but he's just sat waiting for his opportunity, and I'm sure it'll come.
I didn't get a chance to speak to you after last Saturday night in Dublin. Just your reaction to the cards, the 98-92, which seemed a bit too wide. What was your opinion on that, first of all?
Just listen, it was a close fight in my opinion. So the 98-92 card was too wide, and I never expected us to get it on a close fight. There's been a lot. I put that video on what got sent from Matchroom, where I'm talking to the referee in the change rooms, and it only just to throw it in the mix, just for people to understand. Like, I sort of expected it to happen. I just anticipated the referee being a bit tougher with it, which can change the trajectory of a fight, if knowing that they're not allowed to hold on in them situations. But Kate got away with it, and fighters do that. I'm not saying she's a dirty fighter. Heads clashing in loads of fights. Fighters tie people up in situations all the time, but it's against the rules. And if you've got a strong referee who warns you, a lot of the time that dissuades the fighter from holding on. So that was my point. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying it was an unfair result. It was she was dirty. That's not the case. I'm just highlighting the fact that the referee didn't do his job properly.
Is it fair to say that maybe Katie just used her veteran knowledge of being around the ring and her ring craft in that circumstance? Because I don't really think Katie is a dirty fighter.
No, and that's what I'm saying. She's not a dirty fighter. So holding on isn't being dirty. So you push your boundaries to wherever you can get away with. So, for instance, Jack Catterall was accused of holding a lot against Josh Taylor. So I would agree in certain circumstances he did that. But what happened? He got warned a few times, and then he got a point took off. So that didn't happen with Katie. And I'm not saying that she held on purpose. She held on because she was getting away with it. And if the referee's not warning her, why is she going to stop doing it? It's stopping Chantelle from doing her best work. So it's just frustrating. But I'm not saying she's a dirty fighter, and I'm not saying it was a bad result, because from what I watched, it was a very close fight where the exchanges was sort of to and fro, and Chantelle wasn't allowed to do her best work on the inside, so it was a close fight, and I can't argue with the decision. I never thought we'd get a close decision.
What did you make of the knockdown that wasn't ruled a knockdown?
It was a knockdown. It was a knockdown, and people are always going to have that argument because there's Katie supporters and they go, she didn't get knocked down, the feet tangled or whatever. You can clearly see the feet didn't tangle, she got knocked down, but it is what it is. Listen, we can go around in circles all the time. It's not going to change anything, is it? Doesn't make it any less frustrating, but we're not going to change anything. It's in the past. It sort of makes a third fight more intriguing because it's 1-1 and there's a little bit of a story where, you know, do we feel like it could have gone, the referee could have been a bit tougher and stricter, and maybe we could have had more success, because I believe we could have, but it's just, you'll never know that. It's like saying, do you think it's a knockdown? Do you think it could have changed the fight? Well, we'll never know. So what's the point in having those conversations?
Are you, as a team, open to a rematch? I think personally that Chantelle deserves some sort of homecoming in Northampton at some point. I believe a fight of this magnitude, probably from a promoter's aspect, wouldn't work in Northampton money-wise. Do you as a team, are you open for the Dublin rematch?
So, of course, me being Chantelle's trainer, do I want Chantelle to fight Katie Taylor in Northampton? Of course I do. If I'm a promoter stepping back and being neutral, does it make financial sense? No. Obviously, from what I'm talking with the promoters, Ireland, Katie Taylor, she's the superstar in all this, so I understand it. But if it's a financial incentive and it's not to give Katie an advantage like we feel it was last time, then why not neutral ground? And there's definitely money on neutral ground in places like Abu Dhabi. So that's the reason why all these big fights are going out there, because financially it's more viable. So if you want to do a third fight and you want to make it a level playing field, and it's not going to be 3 fights against Katie Taylor, all of them in Ireland, then let's do it in the UAE somewhere.
Do you believe that Chantelle, if this fight isn't next, that her options are obviously open? Would you be open to maybe that Sandy Ryan fight that a lot of people are speaking about?
I just don't think there's any point in talking about any other fight at the moment except the third fight with Katie, because you know, boxing's a short career, and Katie's 37, Chantelle's 32. None of them are getting any younger. So I don't, you know, I don't see that this story can be left at 1-1. So it needs to be done now while they're both young enough and fresh enough to do it again.
Well, Jamie, thank you for your time on IFL TV. Always a pleasure, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers, pal.